si Xavier Venus Bilon. Nagtuturo po ako sa School of Statistics. So pagpasensyahan niyo na po kung yung ilan sa mga examples ko medyo focused on statistics and data science. Currently po, ang mga tinuturo kong courses ay programming for our data science students, statistical machine learning, saka computational statistics. But I hope yung mga natutunan ko po sa aking experience sa pagtuturo sa aking mga estudyante, gamit yung AI technologies din, makatulong sa pagtuturo ninyo ng psychology sa ating mga estudyante. So I'll be talking about artificial intelligence in higher education this afternoon for the next hour. Hopefully, you'll hang in there. Alam ko medyo boring yung mahabang lecture. So I'll try to summarize everything, yung mga important details para hindi tayo masyadong mabore. And I'll highlight yung mga possibilities that we can do with artificial intelligence technologies and yung mga possible pitfalls din when using AI para magturo at para matuto. So before po I begin my talk, siguro just a quick question. Ano ba yung ginagawa ng mga psychologists? Pwede po bang i-chat ninyo yung sa tingin ninyo ay ginagawa ninyo bilang mga psychologists? Hindi ko alam kung makikita ko or makikita ng lahat. Okay, meron tayo dito psychotherapy. Okay, meron bang may ibang idea sa inyo? Nagtuturo, okay. Research, integration ng data, assessment. Okay, teaching also. Yan, teaching psych, kahit hindi practice. Okay. MSE conduct. Okay, research. So medyo umuulit yung research, assessment, teaching, pero may mga nakikita tayong ibang ideas dito. Diagnosis, kabit ng assessment, and then we have MSE, integration ng data, counseling, consultation, case formulation, or case conceptualization. Yan. Advocate for social transformation. Okay? So ang dami nating ideas when it comes to the work that psychologists do. 'Di ba? Yung iba sa inyo may pare-pareho ng idea siguro, yung iba medyo naiiba rin yung ideas about what psychologists do compared doon sa naging sagot ng iba. So ngayon, tinanong ko rin si ChatGPT, ano ba yung ginagawa ng mga psychologists? So sabi ni ChatGPT, psychologists study and analyze human behavior, emotions, and mental processes to understand, explain, and contribute to the improvement of individuals' well-being and the broader understanding of human psychology. Di ba pang Miss Universe yung chika ni ChatGPT? So hindi ko alam kung gaano kayo kasaya sa naging sagot ni ChatGPT. Pwede bang thumbs up yung mga okay yung sagot ni ChatGPT when it comes to this question? Pwedeng thumbs up kung sa tingin nyo okay yung naging sagot ni ChatGPT. Okay, so I see some like thumbs up. So yung iba parang okay naman yung naging sagot ni ChatGPT. Pwede bang yung iba naman mag-heart react kapag gustong-gusto nyo yung naging sagot ni ChatGPT? Yan, may mga nagpuso sa chat. Okay, may nagpuso rin dito na reactions. How about mag-wow react kayo kung sa tingin ninyo okay yung sagot pero parang kulang? Okay, yung iba sa inyo naka-wow react. Okay. Sige, so mamaya mas pag-usapan natin ito at paano ba natin magagamit yung technology tulad ng ChatGPT para magturo at para matuto yung ating mga estudyante at paano ba natin sila hindi dapat gamitin sa ating pagtuturo at pagkatuto ng ating mga students. But before we go into that question, siguro magandang sagutin muna natin, ano ba yung special sa ating mga computers at paano sila, bakit natin sila natatawag na intelligent? So let's begin with the question, what makes computers special? So hindi lang computers yung technology sa history ng human civilization na nakapagpabago kung paano tayo nabubuhay. Pero ano ba yung special or ano yung kakaiba sa ating computers or computing systems na tinatawag? So yung computers, unlike other technologies that we have, meron siyang tinatawag na logical malleability. Ano ba ibig sabihin nitong phrase na ito? Ibig sabihin nito, yung computers, kaya nating baguhin how computers make sense of things or yung kanilang logic or way of thinking. So unlike other technologies, yung computers kaya nating baguhin yung kanyang logic such that if we have a certain input, our computer given a certain logic will come up with a certain output, and using the same input, if we change the logic, we will get a different output. So essentially, ito yung kakaiba sa computers na wala sa ibang technologies na meron tayo. So ano ngayon yung consequence ng logical malleability? So dahil yung computers natin, kaya nating baguhin yung logic nila, ano ngayon yung consequence nito? So as computers become more powerful, arguably, we can say that programmers, human programmers who can manipulate the logic of our computers can become more powerful as well. So in the recent years, palaki ng palaki yung number of transistors or ito yung parts ng ating computers na nakaka-handle ng logic, dumadami sila sa ating computers. So ibig sabihin nito, yung capacity ng computers natin to do computations, lumalaki rin through time. In fact, ngayon yung fastest supercomputers natin, nasa around 1 billion computations yung kaya niyang gawin per second. And yung price ng ating computer components like memory and storage, pababa siya ng pababa. At ibig sabihin nito, mas nagiging accessible in a way at mas nagiging ubiquitous yung ating computers sa buhay ng mga tao. So ngayon, ano yung nagiging reason para maging intelligent yung ating computers? May iba't ibang pananaw dito, what makes a computer intelligent. Pero si Turing, isa sa mga kilalang computer scientists, essentially sinasabi niya, if a machine behaves as intelligently as a human being, then it is as intelligent as a human being. Sabi naman ni Russell and Norvig, yung mga computing systems na intelligent, ito yung mga systems that think and or act like humans. So in other words, when we say intelligent systems like our AI technologies, ito yung mga computing systems that can learn and perform suitable techniques to solve problems and achieve goals. Ito yung mga systems na kayang mag-perceive, quote-unquote, and mag-respond sa world around them. Yung artificial intelligence as a field is defined as the science and engineering of making intelligent machines, quote-unquote. So gusto natin sa field ng AI na yung ating mga computing systems para silang tao na kaya nilang ma-perceive yung nasa paligid nila at mag-react, mag-respond doon sa situation na yon, based doon din sa kanilang kaalaman previously. Maraming examples ng AI technologies even before naging sikat yung AI. Marami na tayong ginagamit na nag-i-implement ng AI technologies. Of course, we have the speech recognition. Yung mga iPhone users dyan, may Siri. Mga Android, may Google Assistant. Ito common sa Amerika, yung mga may Alexa. Hindi ko alam sino gumagamit sa inyo ng Shazam. May gumagamit ba sa inyo nito? Shazam, sa mga mahilig sa music. Oh, may nagtaas ng kamay. Okay, so essentially music recognition yung Shazam. Hinahanap niya based on a certain clip of sound, hinahanap niya kung ano yung kamuka na sound noong narinig niya para i-recommend sa'yo kung ano yung kanta na narinig mo. And pwede rin yung ating AI technology for translation services. Recently, yung AI technology nagagamit na rin for virtual assistants, for chatbots, and Many years ago, naalala ko rin yung Facebook nag-start ng photo tagging. So kapag may picture kayo, i-recommend niya, ikaw ba itong nasa picture na ito? So AI technology din yung ginagamit doon. Of course, we have object detection. Ginagamit yan for traffic systems para makita kung ilang kotse yung meron sa given road at particular time. Yung mga phones natin ngayon, meron ng facial recognition, so we don't have to input our passcode. Nagamit din siya sa medical imaging and many other examples. Pagdating sa recommendation engines, Google Search, mas naging quote-unquote intelligent na rin yung ating Google Search ngayon. Mas madali na nating mahanap yung gusto nating mahanap. 'Di ba? Hindi, kung meron kang gustong sabihin kay Google pero hindi mo siya ma-articulate properly or hindi mo mahanap yung right keywords, Google will try to make sense of your recent data, other data sa internet para i-tailor fit yung recommendations or yung results, search results na ibabalik niya sa'yo. And of course, ito may upside, may downside, yung ating mga social media, networking sites, yung mga nakikita nating posts, tweets, videos sa ating feed, tailor-fitted yan based on our behavior doon sa mga social media sites na ito and sa internet na rin in general. And then syempre, ina-explore din recently yung automation ng ilang systems like self-driving cars, stock portfolio optimization, and many others. And yung magiging focus natin ngayong hapon ay yung tinatawag nating generative AI technologies. Or example nito yung ChatGPT or yung mga AI art na naging usapin din recently. So ano ba yung kakaiba dito sa ating AI technologies na ito? Yung mga iba na binanggit ko, most of them are predictive AI. So tinatry ng technology to predict what will happen next. Kaya naging usapin yung generative AI kasi yung technologies na ito, instead of predicting what will happen next, sila ay gumagawa ng bagong content. So hindi lang sila nagpe-predict kung ano yung mangyayari. Gumagawa sila ng bagong content for us. So when we say generative AI, ito yung mga technology na gumagamit ng AI to create new content like text, images, music, audio, and videos. So how does it work? Generative AI works by using what we call an ML or machine learning model to learn the patterns and relationships sa dataset ng human-created content. And then ginagamit yung mga patterns na ito na natutunan niya from the dataset na binigay ng mga tao, ginawa ng mga tao at binigay ng mga tao sa model, ginagamit niya yung natutunan niyang patterns para mag-generate ng new content. So kung naalala niyo pa yung diagram natin from the previous slide, essentially ganito yung nangyayari sa ating mga generative AI technologies. Pwede nating tignan na yung ating machine learning model, nag-feed in sa kanya yung ating training data. Yung training data ginagamit para ma-determine natin yung patterns na mabubuo doon sa ating machine learning model. So paano tayo mag-generate ng new content? Dahil natuto na si machine learning model ng mga patterns from the training data, if we provide a new data doon sa ating machine learning model, pwede siyang maka-generate ng output based on the patterns na natutunan niya doon sa lumang data. Yan. So tinanong ko si ChatGPT dito, kunyari, in 1 to 2 sentences, can you tell me how the human mind works? So sabi niya, the human mind is a complex system of interconnected neurons that processes information through electrical and chemical signals, enabling cognitive functions such as perception, memory, reasoning, and emotion. It involves intricate networks and patterns of activity that underlie our thoughts, behaviors, and experiences. So parang maganda yung sagot ni ChatGPT dito, pero I want you to take a moment to think about the response of ChatGPT. Tapos siguro isipin nyo rin, ano kaya yung kulang or ano kaya yung naging priority ni ChatGPT sa pag-respond dito sa question na ito. Sige, just give me a few seconds. I'll give you some time to think about this and then tuloy natin yung ating discussion. Okay, sige. May mga naisip ba kayong ideas? Ano kaya yung sa tingin ninyong kulang dito? Ano kaya yung naging priority niya? Okay, unang-una references, 'di ba? Ano kaya yung naging basihan ni ChatGPT dito? Generic, lacking in terms of context. Okay, baka nag-focus masyado sa brain functions, citations. Okay, so this one may tanong dito, sa context ba ito ng psychology? So new chat ito, new conversation ito with ChatGPT. So wala akong binigay na ibang prompt kay ChatGPT instead other than this one you see here on screen. Okay, limited to 1 to 2 sentences. So kita nyo, nung finorce ko si ChatGPT to focus, magbigay ng sagot na focus, kasi 1 to 2 sentences lang. Sabi niya dito, yung human mind ay more or less may kinalaman sa nangyayari sa ating brain. Okay, meron dito thoughts, emotions, emphasis on emotions, behavior, experiences. Okay, so pag-isipan pa natin ito. Okay, meron din dito explanation is highly technical, other theories and philosophical perspectives of the mind. Meron, pero hindi yun yung naging posisyon ni ChatGPT. Okay? So kita natin na parang meron tayong nakikitang incompleteness siguro, kung hindi man inaccuracy sa naging response ni ChatGPT. So mamaya mas i-flesh out pa natin yan. Pero as we discuss yung mga possibilities ng AI technologies sa pagtuturo at sa pagkatuto ng ating students, I want you to keep in mind these nuances about the outputs or outcomes ng ating technologies na pwedeng gamitin sa ating teaching and learning. Sige. So ngayon punta tayo sa paano ba natin magagamit yung AI technology sa ating teaching and learning. So meron akong ilang example sa inyo na nagawa ko sa aking klase or nagawa ko sa aking research at sa aking experience din. And I'll highlight yung possibilities that we can do with AI when it comes to teaching sa higher education. But along the way, I'll also highlight yung ilan sa mga tingin ko na drawbacks ng paggamit ng AI technologies and how we can, resolve itong mga weaknesses ng AI technologies while we use them sa ating pagtuturo at pag-aaral. So unang-una ay pag-create ng teaching and learning materials. So usually when we are asked to teach something, alam natin yung content na ituturo natin. Pero may darating yung time na may kailangan tayong ituro na hindi tayo masyadong familiar or hindi tayo masyadong experienced compared sa ibang topics na kailangan nating ituro. So na-encounter ko siya last semester. I was asked to teach a statistical machine learning course sa aming graduate students sa data science. At napakalawak ng usapin ng statistical machine learning. In fact, 6 units siya sa amin. So napakalaking subject niya. At may isang algorithm na hindi ko masyadong nagagamit. Yung tawag doon ay association rule learning. So ginamit ko si ChatGPT to help me create or provide examples ng applications ng particular algorithm na to my students. So I asked ChatGPT ano yung applications at yung sagot niya ginamit ko to create my teaching material for my students. Pero yung challenge ngayon sa akin bilang teacher ay kung ito yung usual applications ng particular algorithm, ano pa kaya yung ibang applications na pwedeng paggamitan nitong algorithm na ito? Kasi kung mababasa naman pala ng students ko, kung matcha-chat GPT nila yung applications na ito, ano ngayon yung pwede pang applications na hindi alam ni chat GPT? So yun yung naging challenge sa akin. So yung point ko ay we can use chat GPT to help us create learning materials for our students. Pero at the end of the day, tayo yung nakakakilala sa ating students. So mas alam natin yung kanilang background, yung kanilang interests na maaari nating i-harness para mas maging positive yung kanilang learning experience. So yung tanong sa akin noon ngayon ay ano kaya yung application that they would find interesting other than yung mga applications na binigay ni ChatGPT. So, sinupplement ko, of course, yung binigay ni ChatGPT. At yung isang activity na naisip ko, syempre, hindi naisip ni ChatGPT. So, medyo sikat pa yung usapin ng election dito. So, ginamit ko yung present level election data from COMELEC Transparency Server. So, publicly available ito na datos. Tapos ginamit ko siya to create an activity for my students to use that particular activity to understand the voting preferences of Filipinos. So in that sense, hindi siya naisip ni ChatGPT na pwede palang ganito yung application. Tapos dahil kilala ko yung mga students ko, nakaisip ako ng dagdag na material na pwedeng mag-enhance ng kanilang learning experience. In fact, isa ito sa mga activities na maraming nagbanggit na students na pinaka-natuwa sila na activity sa buong klase namin. Syempre, hindi naman nila ma-appreciate masyado yung sinabi ni ChatGPT kasi hindi naman yan contextualized doon sa kanilang mga karanasan. Pero yung input ko bilang teacher, bilang tao, yun pa rin yung mas naging meaningful para sa kanila. At yung nakakatuwa dito for me ay may isang output yung student, isang grupo ng students kasi at the end of the class, I asked them to to write a paper implementing some statistical machine learning techniques to solve a problem. Yung naging problem na sinagot ng students ay may kinalaman sa procurement strategy na hindi masyadong pinaggagamitan nung particular algorithm na ito. So yung point ko ay when we think outside the box as teachers, yung students natin may be, inspired them to think outside the box when it comes to using what they learn in our class. So definitely we can use AI technologies like ChatGPT para mapadali yung buhay natin. Pero yung mahalagang point din dito, yung matitipid nating oras and energy, maybe we should devote that to creating something more interesting for our students. Given na yung mga students natin are individual people with different experiences na hindi kayang maintindihan ni ChatGPT. And of course, we can also use ChatGPT and other AI technologies to create assessments. So ito very simple lang. Create a true or false quiz with 5 items about a particular topic. So may true or false questions na ibibigay si ChatGPT. Yung ilan sa mga tanong na binigay niya, probably I would ask my students. Tapos you can also ask ChatGPT to provide you the answers. Tapos nagbigay siya ng explanation kung bakit mali yung ilan sa mga tanong na mga statements na binigay niya. So definitely it can help you create assessments. Pero siguro yung mas interesting, at least for me, ay kung yung mga tanong na ito ay kayang sagutin ng ChatGPT or kayang i-Google ng mga students ko. Mas interested ako doon sa idea na bakit ko sila itatanong sa students ko. So what I did instead sa pag-integrate ng ChatGPT sa assessment of the learning of my students ay tinanong ko si ChatGPT. Ngayon, ang trabaho ng students ko, i-critique yung response ni ChatGPT. Sa response ni ChatGPT, ano sa tingin nyo yung hindi accurate dyan? And I want you to rewrite yung phrases or sentences doon sa response to better respond doon sa ating prompts. So the first time I tried this last semester sa isang elective I taught on high performance and parallel computing, naloka ako kasi ang hirap niya i-check. Yun yung realization ko. Medyo minadali ko ito. So I did this assessment. Naisip ko kasi ang gandang idea. Pero nung checkan ko na, sabi ko, ang hirap mag-check. Yan. So the second time I asked my students to do something like this, binago ko ng onte yung assessment. I numbered the responses per sentence. So yung ChatGPT response, nilagyan ko siya ng numbers, 1, 2, 3, and so on. And then I asked them specifically to state the number of the sentences, of the sentence or sentences that they think is inaccurate. And then ask them to explain why they think it is inaccurate. Yeah, so ilang practical tips lang din siguro on how we can use ChatGPT to create assessments. And yung isang challenge din sa akin, kasi nung tinitignan ko, usually, almost always, accurate yung response na binibigay ni ChatGPT. So yung naging challenge sa akin dito ay how do I ask ChatGPT interesting questions such that may hirapang masagot si ChatGPT yung mga tanong na iyon. So usually when I give my students this kind of assessments, I ask ChatGPT several prompts. Yung ilan sa mga prompts na yon, so kung 3 prompts yung ibibigay ko kay ChatGPT, probably 1 or 2 prompts will more or less provide an inaccurate or incomplete response para rin makita ng students na yung ChatGPT, although it can provide you an accurate enough response for particular questions, merong mga hindi alam si ChatGPT or meron siyang hindi ma-communicate sa atin accurately that we know ay incomplete or inaccurate. So yung gusto ko dito sa kind ng assessment na ito, bukod sa integration ng AI technology sa assessment, ma-highlight din natin sa students yung importance ng pagkakaroon tao na titingin sa output ng mga technologies na ito because they are not always reliable. Para hindi rin sila bilang mga students laging magde-depend sa mga technologies na ito. Kasi nakita nila sa assessment na merong mga pagkakamali yung mga technologies tulad ng ChatGPT. And I also use ChatGPT to talk about ethics sa aming class. Isang question na provide ko kay ChatGPT ay to think of ethical issues related doon sa aming class on high performance and parallel computing. And then yung trabaho ni student ay magbigay ng issue na hindi binanggit ni ChatGPT. Yan. So pwedeng gawing activity ito. Yung isa na pwede rin pero I can imagine mahirap i-check bilang mga teacher ay maybe we can ask our students, bakit sa tingin nyo kaya ito yung prioritize na issues ni ChatGPT given a particular prompt? Kasi makikita rin natin ano ba yung mga underlying values doon sa technology na ginagamit natin to create new content. And of course, we can use ChatGPT to give feedback. So ito ay example ng R code. So hindi ko alam kung familiar kayo sa programming language na R. So ginagamit siya to analyze data, to extract data, and so on. So dito sa example na to, simple example, merong error doon sa code ng student. So pwedeng gamitin si ChatGPT para mabigyan ng feedback si student, bakit kaya may mali doon sa kanyang sinulat. Yeah. So tinype lang, can you help me debug this R code? Tapos may sagot na si ChatGPT. Ito yung sa tingin niyang mali doon sa sinulat mo. Ito yung mga pwede mong gawin, and so on. So bakit ko inaalaw yung students to use ChatGPT and other generative AI technologies para makatanggap ng feedback? So yung napansin ko, when I allow my students to use ChatGPT and other technologies, and also to work with each other, with their fellow classmates, nabibigyan ako ng mas maraming oras to work on more difficult problems. Kasi itong tanong na to, kayang sagutin niya ni ChatGPT, kaya yang i-Google. So yung tanong sa sarili ko ay, why would I devote my time for questions na kaya namang sagutin ng mga technologies natin? So ngayong na-free up yung aking time, because I don't have to deal with a lot of questions that can be easily answered by ChatGPT or Google, 'di ba? I can spend more of my time trying to customize the experiences of my students, trying to answer more difficult questions that they have. In fact, I do this by explicitly saying sa aking syllabus or tinatawag naming course guide, yung health policy patungkol sa paggamit ng generative AI technologies or tools. So sa simula ng klase namin, very explicit sa kanila na pwede nilang gamitin yung generative AI technologies tulad ng ChatGPT sa kanilang pag-accomplish ng uh, course requirements. And sabi ko, you can treat it as any other outside resources that you would use. Siguro yung worry nung ilan ay paano kung hindi na magtanong yung students natin sa atin, kung si ChatGPT na lang yung tatanungin niya. So nakita ko sa experience ko rin, hindi siya necessarily yung nangyari sa akin. In fact, some of my students even ask what I think are more interesting questions. So yung mga basic questions that I think can be easily answered by ChatGPT or Google, hindi na natatanong. Yung mas interesting na sa akin na tanong, yung tinatanong ng mga students. Ano kaya yung implications ng ganito? Ano yung mga consequences ng ganito? And so on. And siguro yung worry na baka hindi na mag-interact yung teacher with the students and yung students with each other, I ask my students to create help logs, what I call help logs. Essentially, they write doon sa help log kung anong tulong yung binigay nila at natanggap nila for that particular week. At nakita ko na students still interact with each other, sometimes to ask about class activities, may mga uma-absent, so magtatanong si classmate dun sa iba niyang kaklase na pumasok, or magtatanong about the particular topic we discussed sa class. So, yung point ko ay, these technologies ay hindi siya necessarily replacement of us as teachers and our students, their classmates. Hindi sila replacement. But you can think of it as an additional resource that our students can use to maximize their learning. And I think yung point na gusto ko rin gawin dito is we have to be intentional about this. If we value the social interactions our students have with us and with their fellow classmates, kailangan natin i-incentivize yon. For my classes, I always allow helping each other. Lagi ko sinasabi sa students ko na yung point of education is not just being knowledgeable, it's about building a community of knowledgeable people who are willing to help each other. So kung yun yung pinapahalagahan ko bilang teacher, I should incentivize that sa mga pinapagawa ko sa aking students. So at the end of the semester, I give onting plus points doon sa mga tao na nagbigay ng substantial help doon sa kanilang mga kaklase. Tapos walang penalty doon sa mga nanghingi ng tulong. So kung mahalaga yung social interactions, like I believe, for the learning of our students, kailangan din natin siyang i-incentivize to ensure na yung technologies like ChatGPT won't be replacement doon sa atin bilang teachers at sa mga kaklase nila. Now, when it comes to learning, maraming uses yung chat GPT. Unang-una, creating outlines. So, kunwari itong talk na ito, 1-hour talk. So, pwede kong tanongin si ChatGPT, I will be giving a 1-hour talk about the use of AI in higher education. Can you give me an outline? So, bibigay siya sa'yo ng outline. So, kung yung tanong ninyo, ginamit ko ba si ChatGPT for creating the outline of my presentation? Yung sagot po ay hindi. Bakit hindi ko siya ginamit? Kasi meron akong sariling agenda. Meron akong gustong i-discuss ngayong hapon. Meron akong ideas na gusto kong ma-communicate. So, I would think na yung ChatGPT won't be able to include those ideas sa outline na ipoprovide niya. Pero yung point ko dito, it is possible to use ChatGPT to help us structure our writing, for example. Sa case ng research, na-try ko na to before. I was writing a paper and nasulat ko na yung methodology, yung results, and then I'm trying to write the discussion section and then the introduction section to frame the results that I have. Pero stuck ako, hindi ko siya maisip how I'm going to write the introduction and then the discussion sections of my paper. So, ginamit ko si ChatGPT to help me create an outline. So, paano ko siya nagamit? Nagbigay ng outline si ChatGPT sa akin. At hindi ako masaya sa outline. Yan, hindi ako naging masaya dun sa outline ni ChatGPT. So ngayon, bilang tao, yung tanong ko sa sarili ko, bakit kaya hindi ako masaya sa binigay sa aking outlines? And instead of using the outline as the basis of what I wrote, I actually used it as a prompt to help me reflect on my thoughts kung ano ba yung gusto kong sabihin. Kasi kung hindi ako masaya dito sa binigay ni ChatGPT, bakit kaya hindi ako masaya? Para matulungan ako maisip, ano ba yung gusto kong sabihin. So it can help us create outlines and it can also help us reflect on what we want to say when we are writing something. So definitely our students can also do this approach when it comes to using ChatGPT and other AI technologies. Pwede rin natin gamitin yung ChatGPT to rewrite text. For example, itong favorite definition ko of statistics as a field by the American Statistical Association. Medyo technical siya in a sense. So I can ask ChatGPT to simplify the text for me na maintindihan ng maraming tao. Yan. Hindi ako naging masaya dito sa una niyang sagot. So I actually generated a new response. So meron diyang generate a new response button. Tapos yung second response niya, medyo mas masaya ako. Kasi I think mas nakaka-capture na yung original idea from the definition without using too much technicalities. So yung point ay we can use ChatGPT to help us rewrite texts. But at the end of the day, tayo pa rin yung magde-decide what makes sense for the particular purpose that we are using the technology for. Pwede rin natin gamitin si ChatGPT, pwedeng gamitin natin bilang mga teachers ng ating students to look for references. If you don't know where to start, you can ask ChatGPT to give you some good references, mga common references cited as your starting point. And then bibigyan ka niya ng ilang references na pwede mong hanapin, pwede mong basahin to help you get started with what you are studying or what you are writing. Yan. Pwede nyo rin gamitin ito to actually format yung reference sa APA. Yan, pero mapadali yung buhay ninyo. Pero favorite part ko ito ng writing kapag nagsusulat na ng reference list ko. Kasi feeling ko nare-relax ako kapag fino-format ko yung references using APA style. So pwedeng gamitin si ChatGPT to do this or to help you format some of the things that you are writing. Now, na nakita natin yung ilang paraan how to use them to teach, and siguro na-emphasize ko na rin yung ilang points kung bakit sila hindi magandang gamitin in some instances, siguro let's talk more about how can we not use them to teach and learn. Yan. So kanina tinanong ko kayo about how the human mind works at yung response ni ChatGPT. Marami kayong comments patungkol doon sa naging sagot ni ChatGPT. Pwedeng good enough na siya, accurate enough, complete enough, pero nabanggit nyo rin kanina, kailangan nating ma-figure out ano ba yung mga ideas na hina-highlight ng ChatGPT when it comes to the human mind na tinanong natin sa kanya. Ano yung mga ideas na pino-foreground niya? Ano yung mga ideas na sinasilence niya? And I think bilang mga tao, yun yung hindi kayang palitan ng mga technologies na ito. Kasi tayo yung mas may malawak na karanasan, kaalaman, patungkol sa mga bagay na pinag-uusapan natin, sinasabuhay natin, tinuturo natin. And yun yung I think kailangan nating mas ma-emphasize when it comes to using AI technologies in education, in teaching, and in learning. Now, there are many different things that we should be aware of when we are using AI technologies. In fact, noong 1985, yung isang philosopher, si Moore, problematize niya na yung idea ng computer ethics or the ethics of using computers. At doon sa kanyang paper noong 1980s, finorground niya yung tatlong general areas na sa tingin niya ay magiging problema habang mas nagiging powerful at common yung computer sa buhay ng mga tao. Yung invisible abuse, invisible values, and invisible calculations. Bakit ito problema? Problema sila, una dahil nag-exist sila. Pangalawa, dahil invisible sila. Kasi usually when we think about computing systems or our computers, iniisip natin na objective yung ating mga computers or they are isolated from us people. But in fact, yung ating computing systems, they are products of our society. So maraming factors na nakaka-affect on how our computing systems work, laws, policies, culture, ating mga beliefs and values bilang mga tao, bilang mga programmers, they all feed in to the kind of computing systems that we produce. At kapag hindi natin na-recognize yung mga possible na harms ng ating computing system na maaaring dulot and possible values na na-ingrain doon sa systems, na ginawa ng mga tao, maaaring hindi natin ma-address yung mga problema.